New York City is widely considered to be the most powerful, influential city in the world, consistently appearing in the top 5 of several global ranking indices. The city is seen as a vibrant cultural, political, and business epicenter. However, alongside all the glamour and power, New York City is under the constant threat of terrorism. In 2015, the Global Terrorism Index, which seeks to quantify the impact of terrorism, ranked the United States 35th out of 162 countries, amongst the highest in the Western world. There have been 2 major terror attacks in the US post-1990, including a string of other plots. In 1993, a bomb was detonated under the World Trade Center with the failed intention of bringing down the towers. 6 people were killed. 2001 saw the most notable event, with over 2,900 people losing their lives in the 9/11 attacks. As a result of recent events in London and Brussels, it can be contended that crowded public spaces such as shopping centres, events and transport are the new primary targets, with the objective of causing mass casualty. New York City is particularly susceptible to such attacks given its high profile that offers large payoffs to urban terrorists. There are 2 main strategies that the city has implemented post 9/11. They are emblematic fortification and security zones around buildings and key public places. Post 9/11, the US created visually exaggerated images of national security via the architecture of its embassies. These were designed to reassure the public of its safety. What was previously only seen on government buildings was now being adopted by many private buildings, such as banks and company headquarters. They were mostly retrofit solutions and included concrete jersey barriers, steel bollards, and heavily armed security. Although it is noted that the strategy is somewhat effective in deterring attacks, there are numerous issues that have been resultant. These include the fact that overt counter-terrorism design can actually instill feelings of fear and disassurance rather than safety, the fact that the strategy is primarily for vehicular-based attacks and will not be effective for sky-based attacks or lone wolf attacks, and finally, there is some degree of permanency, meaning overt structures will remain even if the threat level decreases. New York City has, however, implemented some modifications in an attempt for the strategy to be better received by the public. As seen, this includes architecturally designed bollards and even collapsible sidewalks which give way under the load of trespassing vehicles. These examples are aimed at continuing the safety of citizens without the disassurance of overtly fortified architecture and design. The other strategy which has been employed is security zones. Security zones consist of land, buildings, and streets that have been excluded from public use in the name of security. They are designed to limit access to vulnerable areas and buildings whilst restricting mobility. In New York City, free space can be classified as open, closed, or limited. Security zones present many issues to planners who seek to deliver open and collaborative cities. In New York City, the concentration of security zones around the civic and financial districts has resulted in a vast loss of public space. A recent study revealed up to 30% of open space was deemed limited or even closed. This loss of space means citizens have a reduced opportunity to interact and share ideas. Post 9/11, New York has been seen to fail in delivering a balance between security and openness. Planners therefore need to consider the public's perspective of these zones. Security zones need to somehow be incorporated into public life and remain usable and useful space. A notable success is Broad Street at the New York Stock Exchange, where a previously closed space was open to the public, with tables and chairs. Although limited access was provided, it still maintained its security features, doing so in a more covertly way. As discussed, these measures are effective in deterring attacks. Going forward, planners do, however, need to more consciously consider the visual and spatial impacts of such design. In Australia, the federal government is responsible for national security. The City of Sydney is, however, responsible for the planning of the built environment and therefore has some power in influencing counter-terrorism strategies. Possible strategies for the City of Sydney to implement include enforcing aesthetic requirements for perimeter protection, such as aesthetically designed bollards. Consider additional uses for security zones that still make spaces usable yet secure. Attempt to plan buildings where exclusion and security zones do not amalgamate into large, unused spaces. And finally, ensure exaggerated visual security controls are confined to major events and do not become everyday features of the city.